Good afternoon, everyone. Can I welcome you to the Planning, Regulatory and Licence Committee of the 14th of September. Before we start the agenda, I'll ask Geraint to read out the notice there about the broadcast via the authority's website, etc.
Yeah, please note that this meeting will be recorded for subsequent broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the authority. The public seating areas are in view of the camera, and by entering the chamber and using the public seating area, members of the public are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings as outlined above. And if I could just ask members to ensure that their mobile phones are switched off.
Thank you, Geraint. We go to the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Councillor Ernie Goldsworthy, Chair.
Any other apologies? No. Go to item 2, any declarations of interest? Joel?
Yeah, declaration of interest on the last item, item 13, Mr. Chairman. I know the applicant personally. Sorry? Personal and prejudicial, yeah.
Yeah, Chair, same item, item 13, personal and prejudicial, which I've declared an interest before on another thought, Brecon Beach National Park, so I'll do the same for this one.
Right, now we go to item 3, and that's the fact-finding visits of Monday the 1st of August. We're dealing with these minutes as a matter of correct minutes. So can I ask for a member to move and another member to second? We agree these minutes as a true record.
Minutes, Chair.
Second, Chair.
Moved by Councillor Smith and moved by Councillor Williams. But these minutes are correct.
Try it again.
That's you that needs to try it again. You've got your talk button on.
Oh,
Press this microphone.
Right, we got there in the end. That's been agreed. Item 4, and that's the planning fact-finding visit on Monday the 8th of August. Can I have a member to move the minutes correct and another member to second it, please? Moved by Councillor Mansbridge. Is there a member to second?
A second.
Been seconded by Councillor Slater. Can you now vote, please? Those minutes are carried. We now go to item 5, and that's the proposed development. It's application number P/16/0061, and it's the proposed development, construction of an embankment, engineering works and provision of a drainage ditch. And that is, who was going to take us over?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, this application has been reported back to committee following a fact-finding site visit that took place on the 8th of August 2016. The applicant has considered the concerns raised by members during the site visit and has submitted revised plans which propose a 20-metre extension to the southern end of the originally proposed drainage ditch, an increase in the diameter of the pipe which connects the proposed drainage ditch to the existing open culvert from 100mm to 300mm, a head wall to both the proposed drainage ditch and the existing open culvert, and the regrading of the existing footpath above the pipe to enable excess water to be channeled towards the open culvert. The applicant has also confirmed that the embankment would be screened and the bricks, concrete and other waste material removed prior to any planting commencing. It has also been confirmed that the landscaping will be implemented towards the end of 2016 or early next year. The revised proposals are considered acceptable, and therefore the application is recommended for approval, subject to the revised conditions outlined on pages 10 and 11 of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Hugh. Any questions from members? No?
Sorry, it'll be done next year, said this work. Are we gonna keep on top of it now? Because you know they're like these contractors. Now they say something and then they say something will happen, delay things. So are we double checking? Sorry.
Yeah, the conditions relate to timescales that they have to do things by, for example, 3 months for the completion of the drainage, and then there's a condition on with regard to the landscaping of the scheme. Obviously, if it's not done in that time, there's enforcement issues that we need to chase up on, but they've clarified in writing that those are the timescales that are adhering to, so we will keep an eye on it, definitely, from an enforcement point of view.
Any other questions? No? If not, I think it was yes, I just any comments? No. If not, can you move to vote, please? Sorry.
I'll move the recommendations, Chair.
Yeah, been moved. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Slater. It's been moved and seconded. No vote. It's carried. The next application is item 6 on the agenda, and that's the application number P/16/0114, and that's the TA Garage and Kevin Coyd Community Centre, New Church Street, Kevin Coyd. And there's a report there, pages 17 to 24. Here we're going to take this one.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this application is for a change use of a garage to a bunkhouse and the erection of a single-storey extension which links the garage to the existing community centre. The bunkhouse would have 7 ensuite rooms, with the facility having a lounge, cycle storage area and a laundry. 7 car parking spaces would be provided for the bunkhouse. There would be no objections as a result of the consultation exercise undertaken. As a result of the publicity exercise undertaken, there have been 4 letters of objection. 2 letters were received from individual households. 1 was signed by 4 households, and 1 letter was signed by 7 households. The objections, which are outlined on pages 19 and 20 of the report, mainly relate to the increase in traffic and parking and the detrimental impact on highway safety, noise and disturbance to neighbouring residents, and overlooking to neighbouring residents. The extension and alterations to the garage are considered acceptable and would not have an adverse impact on the character and appearance of the area. The parking, highway and pedestrian safety issues have been carefully considered by the engineering and traffic group leader, who has raised no objection in respect to these matters. It is considered that the proposed use of the garage could potentially result in an improvement to neighbouring residents in terms of noise and disturbance. Members will note that a motor vehicle repair garage currently operates at the site, which could intensify at any point without the requirement for further planning permission. Finally, the design of the bunkhouse and the use of obscure glazing would limit any overlooking to neighbouring residents. The application is therefore recommended for permission, subject to the conditions highlighted on pages 23 and 24 of the report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Hugh. Questions? Anyone? No questions? Not any comments? Councillor Barrett?
Thank you, Chair. I think this some of the planning or obstructions that we had have all been sorted out with this now, and I think this is very good for the community centre. Could be a future revenue which it badly needs in the current climate, so I'm fully supportive, and I recommend the sorry, jumping again.
Any other comments? Councillor Mansfield.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it seems to be a mushrooming of bunkhouses, because we've had a planning application down in Edwardsville, no, Trearis, Mount Pleasant, the old school, Mount Pleasant School. Unfortunately, the person who submitted the application has now sold, is in the act of selling the business on. But, you know, it's another bunkhouse north and a bunkhouse south. It must be good, doing well in Merthyr then.
Any other comments? No? Now then, can somebody move the application? Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Chair. I'll move the application. Thank you.
Is it seconded? Councillor Adam Jones? No vote. That's carried. Thank you. We're going to item 7. That's application P/16/0149. And it's the installation of external refrigeration air conditioning unit and acoustic barrier and the replacement of rear security doors. Judith's going to take this one.
This application relates to a 2-storey terrace property on Fox Street in Treharris, which is occupied by the Co-op store. It also sits within the Treharris Conservation Area. Planning permission is sought to install a refrigeration air conditioning unit and acoustic barrier in the rear yard, as well as the replacement of security doors to the rear. The application is supported by an acoustic assessment. Councillor Kate Moran has requested that this application be reported to committee to consider the noise impact on neighbouring residents. No objections have been received as a result of the consultation exercise carried out, whilst 2 letters of objection were received following the initial publicity exercise. The applicant amended the application to include an acoustic barrier in an attempt to overcome neighbours' concerns in relation to noise and disturbance. Following a further publicity exercise, 1 letter of objection was received, again on the grounds of noise and disturbance. The merits of the application, including its impact on the amenity of surrounding residents in terms of noise and disturbance, and on the character and appearance of Treharris Conservation Area, are considered in detail in the planning considerations section of the report. The recommendation is that the application be approved, subject to conditions.
Thank you. Any questions, members? No? Any comments? No? If you're all happy with the application, can you vote now, please? Second, who's going to move it? Oh, Councillor Mansbridge? Yeah. Who's going to second it, please?
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Gareth Lewis. Can you vote? It's been carried. Thank you. Now then, application number P/16/0164, and that's the erection of a detached dwelling private drive. It's an outline application on land at Mysonant Grove Park, Merthyr, Tydfil, and David Cross is going to take this one.
Thank you, Chair. This application relates to a plot of land within the curtilage of Mysonant, adjacent to Grove Park to the northwest and King Edward's Villas to the south. Members may recall that there's been a number of applications previously on this site for its residential development, and this application is presented at the request of Councillor Chris Barry, who's asked for the committee to consider the merits of the proposal, particularly in light of previous concerns. This proposal relates to the erection of a detached dwelling located to the east of Mysonant, which would be served by a private drive which links to King Edward Villas. All matters relating to the detail of the access, appearance, landscaping, layout and scale have been reserved for future consideration, and as such the main consideration of this application relates to the principle of developing the site for residential purposes. No objections were raised as a result of the consultation exercise undertaken. However, we did receive 2 letters of objection from local residents. In summary, the key concerns related to the potential overdevelopment of the site, the suitability of the proposed access and the implications this would have on the existing on-street parking provision, the impact on the character, density, layout, design and landscaping of the immediate area, the effects on the remaining trees, habitats and existing watercourses, which in turn has concerns relating to potential flooding and drainage issues, and the impact on residential amenity. It's acknowledged that there are concerns with the incremental development of the site, which may lead to a greater number of dwellings being provided. In this respect, it's noted that outline permission was recently granted in May of this year for 3 dwellings to the south of Mysonant, fronting on to King Edward Villas. If this application was granted permission, a total of 5 dwellings could be potentially constructed within the grounds of Mysonant, which includes Mysonant itself. It should also be noted that outline permission was previously granted back in February 2015 for the redevelopment of the entire grounds of Mysonant, and at that time there was a scheme presented for potentially 8 dwellings. It's considered that the principle of the development is acceptable and that a dwelling could be accommodated within the curtilage of Mysonant and would not result in the overdevelopment of the site that is detrimental to the character area, and that's taken into account the previous applications potentially being developed alongside this. It's also noted that reserved matter applications would be required for the submission of the sort of general layout and siting of the dwellings within the site, so there'd be further consultation and opportunity to review the design at a later stage. For the reasons set out in the planning consideration section of this report, it's recommended that the application be granted permission subject to conditions and subject to the applicant entering into a Section 106 agreement for the provision of affordable housing contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions at this stage? Yes, Councillor Chapman.
When will the Section 106 be signed? And will that be a precondition before any development takes place on this site?
The Section 106 agreement would have to be signed before we can issue the decision notice, so that'll be done at this stage. But the timing of actually any monies being paid, that'll sort of kick in once the within a time period, once the reserved matter details have been approved. So there's a period of time before they would have to do anything anyway.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair. What proportion of the site will be for affordable housing?
It's a financial contribution because the scheme is less than 10 dwellings. There's no on-site affordable housing.
Okay, no other questions? Comments at this stage? Oh, you got a question? At this stage, I'd like to make a comment that, you know, this is a long history with various applications, including refusal, withdrawn, and it comes as no surprise that there are letters of objection, and in view of everything that's gone on here, I would request that we have a site meeting, and would suggest that we have the appropriate engineering staff at the site meeting. So I'll move that from the chair. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Bill Smith. It's been moved and seconded. Can you all now vote, please? That's carried.
Just confirm, Chair, it is just Gerald Coughlin from engineering.
Well, it's the appropriate engineers. It may be Martin Stark, maybe Gerald Coughlin. It might be both.
Okay.
Okay, as long as we have the appropriate one.
Yeah.
We've had both in a site meeting before, so it may be interesting to have Gerald there because they've got to do work on the drainage, etc. I know it's an upturn application, but we've had flooded problems up there as well.
So it's for drainage and highways safety concern, is it? Just so that we get the right.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Drainage as well.
Okay. Item 9. That's an application there. It's P/16/0165. That's land to the south of numbers 54 to 60 and 82 to 84. 86 Beacon Heights, and to the west of numbers 41 to 59 Harlock Drive. The report there, pages 41 to 50. David's going to take us through this one as well.
Thank you, Chair. This application relates to an area of land measuring approximately 0.59 hectares located at Beacon Heights between Heelcorn V and Harlock Drive. The site is allocated for residential development and is essentially the last phase of the Beacon Heights development. It's the last parcel of land there. Full planning permission is sought for the erection of 10 semi-detached dwellings and 4 detached dwellings that would front onto a new access road to create a cul-de-sac arrangement. Members may recall that some time ago there was a similar scheme previously granted back in 2009, which was never sort of carried forward, and as the permission has since lapsed. This proposal is largely the same as that previously approved. The main difference really is that there's a slight reduction in some of the finished floor levels of the dwellings. No objections have been received as a result of the consultation and publicity exercises undertaken. So for the reasons set out in the planning considerations section of this report, it's considered that the proposed development is acceptable and complies with the relevant local development plan policies. The general design and layout of the development would complement the character of the area and would not adversely impinge on the amenities of neighbouring properties. The existing highways are capable of accommodating any additional traffic, and the site is not considered to have any environmental concerns. It should be noted that Policy AS22 of the LDP normally requires 10% on-site affordable housing where there's a proposal for 10 or more dwellings. In this case, that would amount to one dwelling being provided. However, through the consultation, the response we've had from the Housing Strategy Officer is that there's little interest for a single dwelling to be taken over and managed by the registered social landlords, in this case because it's sort of isolated and away from their normal housing stock. And so in this instance we've sought a financial contribution instead, which would be secured by means of a Section 106 agreement. Therefore it's recommended that planning permission be granted subject to conditions and the applicant entering into a Section 106 agreement to secure the affordable housing contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any questions from members? Yes, Councillor Cham.
Will the approach roads and the roads on the site be brought up to adoptable standards? Because there has been development on this site before by various developers and the roads have not been brought up to adoptable standards.
I can't really comment on the initial stretch of the road because I'm not sure what position that is. I understand engineers have been working to get that adopted, and I know parts of it have been upgraded, but certainly the road with after you come off the initial branch and you turn left into the sort of main Beacon Heights parts, that I know that part's already adopted, and it's the intention of the developer that the road within their site is to be to adoptable standards as well.
Bansbridge?
I noticed on page 42 of the report it says there's parking spaces for two vehicles on the driveway. Would any of them have any garage facilities as well? Because from what Councillor Chaplin is saying, you know, the road's going to be quite congested.
Yeah, each of the properties will have 2 parking spaces on the driveways, and I believe the detached properties, which are slightly bigger, they've got garages as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Any comments? Yes, Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. This particular site has been was originally given planning permission, I think, about 1999. So it's taken a long time to get to this phase, and quite frankly, I welcome it.
Yes, I concur with that. At least it's another 14 properties. It proves that people have come to live in Merthyr Tydfil and want to buy new properties. Any other comments? No? Could somebody move that we accept the move by Councillor Chaplin? Is it
Second. Thank you, Chair.
Move by Councillor Williams. Can you vote now, please? Has been carried. Thank you. Next item is item 10. That's P/16/0203, and that's the Premier Stores, 32 Pants Catalogue, Pant Road. That's pages 51 to 56, and Judith's going to take this one.
Thanks. This application relates to the Premier Stores situated excuse me, on the corner of Pant Road and Cross King Street. The application has been reported to committee as the applicant is Councillor Clive Tovey. Planning permission is sought to subdivide the existing first floor flat into 2-bed flats and to site a condensing unit and extractor fan on the rear elevation, along with conversion of the existing ground floor store to a garage with a new door. No objections were received from consultees, but an objection letter was received as a result of the publicity exercise, raising issues in relation to parking, noise, disturbance, litter and odour. The merits of the proposal are considered in the planning consideration section of the report, and it should be noted that planning permission was granted for a similar development in 2008. The recommendation on page 55 is that the application be approved subject to conditions.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. On page 54 of the report, it says that a condition can be imposed on any permission to agree the specific details of the condenser unit. Will that be the case?
Yeah, condition 3 says before any extraction facilities are installed, details of the unit and extractor flow shall be submitted. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, any comments? No? No comments? Could I have a member to move the application? Been moved by Councillor Williams. Is there a seconder? Moved by Councillor Chaplin. No vote, please. That's carried. Thank you. Is it, there are declarations on 12? I thought they said 13.
Oh, was it 13? Yes.
Thir-
It was the licensing.
13, yeah. Right. Item 12. That's item 11. Sorry, I'm on the back page. This is P/16/0232. It's 1 Dalton Close. Pages 57 to 60, and that's a report of the Corporate Director Place and Transformation. And Hugh's going to take this one.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, this application was called to committee at the request of Councillor Slater to consider the impact on the neighbouring resident. This application is for a first floor extension that will be constructed on top of an existing ground floor extension. It would be 2.3 metres wide, 2.8 metres deep and have a 5.8 metre ridge height. As a result of the publicity exercise undertaken, one letter of objection has been received from the neighbouring terrace property. The objections relate to loss of light and overshadowing. The design of the extension is considered acceptable. Given the stepped arrangement of the terrace, the extension would only project 1.25 metres past the rear elevation of the neighbouring property to Dalton Terrace, who is the person who objected to the application. This minimal projection combined with the sun's path would not result in a significant impact in terms of loss of light or overshadowing. As such, the application is recommended for permission subject to the conditions highlighted in the report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Slater.
Thank you, Chair. In regards to the residential amenities, the report actually says approximately 1.25 metres past the rear of 2 Dalton Close. Has it been considered that the street is on an incline and that this would then give more overshadowing to the property?
Yeah, the site, the property below, the objective property is slightly below the level of the application site, isn't it? Yeah, so it has been considered. The officer has been out on site to assess that. I mean, it says approximately 1.25 because if you can imagine measuring something, it may be 1.26 or 1.27, but in terms of its projection past the rear elevation of the adjacent property and taking into account the sun's path, which rises in the east and sets in the west, then there isn't considered to be any harmful impact in terms of loss of light or be an impact on the neighbouring property.
Okay. Yeah, no.
planning considerations, you've got, where am I at? The highways. It was considerable, important consideration here that safety, yeah?
Which paragraph are you on? Which
Sorry,
page?
planning considerations,
Yeah.
highways,
Yeah.
important
16.
consideration.
Yeah. Okay.
You've got that the car park will be used behind for vehicles, so therefore there are no safety considerations. Firstly, who owns the car park? And two, when a double extension is created, you're obviously creating another bedroom. Will that not increase the volume of vehicles using that car park and the rear lane access to the said car park?
Yeah, the creation of the room being created is quite small, in fact, and the room being proposed at first floor level is a dressing room. It's not an additional bedroom, so it's a dressing room to an existing bedroom. However, notwithstanding that, a single bedroom wouldn't warrant any additional car parking facilities provided at such properties.
Question?
Because of what I've already said, I'd like to ask for a site meeting, please.
I do have to ask what your reasons are for calling a site fact-finding visit.
I am concerned of the safety implication of the possibility of another vehicle. I know you say that a single bedroom may not increase the vehicle use of the lane. However, I have teenage children and I have small bedrooms as well, and my son will be driving shortly. So I believe that there could possibly be an increase of use of that rear lane, and it is a very small rear lane.
It's it's been moved for a site meeting. Is there a second to that?
Second.
It's been moved. There's a site meeting. It's been moved and seconded. That's
Councillor Jones.
Alan Jones.
No, you haven't, Chair. Councillor Jones. No, it's still carried.
That's carried. Okay. Now go to the information reports, and they're simply there for information, pages 61 to 64. Yeah. Can I have a member to move section 100 to exclude press and public? By Councillor Barnesbridge.
Seconds.
Yeah. Well, when they run out, is it? Oh. Right, it's been moved and second. Can you vote no, please, for the section 100? That's carried. We're in reopen session. Item 14, any other business as deemed urgent by the chair? I have none. So I declare the meeting closed.